Okay, welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Hey, Gru, it's a pleasure. Thank you for your support.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you. So, like, the first thing I wanted to start out asking you is typical question is like, what drew you to want to act? Like, when did your passion start for it?
Well, that's I had a circuitous. Is that the word? Circuitous? Fuck. Sorry. I had COVID 3 times, so I have a brain fog, and sometimes words don't come out the same as it used to be. Uh, yeah, it's weird, man. Like, words like, wait, is that how you say that word? Anyway, it didn't happen right away. I was a kid. I loved watching television, and so the funny thing is, right, it connects right to Warrior, is that when I first saw Bruce Lee on the screen in the movie theater in Chinatown in San Francisco, I was like, damn, I want to do that. I was like a 6, 7 year old kid. I want to do what that guy's doing. But I never thought I would ever really be an actor. But so I went, I guess my performance background was really in music. I played in
Mhm.
bands when I was a young teen, punk rock,
Okay.
rock, and that was my stage experience. And then I did fine art in college, and I thought, you know what, I want to sort of transition and figure out what like the best contemporary art is right now. And at that time in the 80s, it was performance art.
Oh,
People, artists, using their bodies for a conceptual statement. And I tried that and I went, oh, this is kind of cool, putting yourself in front of people, your body. And I wanted to learn more about that. So I had one performance art teacher that went, the good thing about performance art is there's a lot of new ideas about
mhm.
performance, right? The bad thing is a lot of artists aren't performers. So it just becomes like boring or something. It's like, what are they doing on stage? Why am I watching them? So I took some movement classes, some dance classes to understand my body on stage, and I really fell in love with dance. So I started taking more classical stuff like ballet and modern dance, and I was like, oh my God, I've never done this. Like move your body in a certain way, like so refined. And I found it really liberating. So when I finally graduated and went to New York and wanted to be, just to see what the big New York City was like for an artist, because I was, San Francisco was just like a small town, a small pond,
Mhm.
right? And New York City was like the big ocean. So I realized right away that, man, there's a lot of really good people at the top of the game in all aspects of anything here, whether you're in the arts, you're a singer, musician, dancer, actor, everyone's at the top of their game. And I'm just coming in here out of school. But I started auditioning. I tried to get into dance companies. I couldn't do it. I realized I was not trained well enough. And then I got into a performance art production. And it turned out that a lot of people saw that in the Asian American community and went, "Hey, you ever want to try acting? Like come and be part of my show." And so I found myself acting suddenly, saying lines, in a dramatic play or something. And I was like, "Okay, this is kind of fun too." So it was a long road from that, 7-year-old kid in Chinatown to that 25-year-old kid who moved to New York City, to finally like my first professional acting gig was 1991. I got paid
Really?
to act. Yeah. And then I got bitten. That was it. Suddenly I'm on stage as a theater actor.
Well, yeah, yeah. What was like your first role you ever did for like film or television?
Okay, so about that time, I met actors, right? Real legit actors who were like, "Hey, man, you should try like getting into television and film. I got an agent. You want to meet my agent?" So I tried that route, and there was really nothing on television for, like Asian American men, except for the Law and Order episode that year that dealt with Chinatown, drug dealing and prostitution. I was like, okay, that's not for me. But I kind of wandered into this indie film. I think it was called uh Man of the Century. Forgot it was, it was an indie film, and I was just a background sort of dancer in it, and it was we're doing a floor show in an underground club where the love interest meets, and it was kind of funny and fun. So that was 1993,
Oh
and I
wow.
got paid for that. But there was things were really scarce, and nothing was in between. And I dropped out of acting for television and film, and I stayed in the theater. Um,
Oh.
And then around 19, then I had kids and definitely couldn't do anything that took away my time from the family. Around 2013, sorry, I got the itch, right, to get like to try television and film again because suddenly I saw Daniel Day Kim on Lost and Justin Lin's Better Luck Tomorrow and Lucy Liu on Elementary, and like Asians were showing up on the big screen, right? In new ways that we had not seen before. So I tried my hand at acting and started dipping my feet into indie films at the time, and just tried to learn the language, the structure, the culture, how people behave. And then I just saw this audition for The Nick by Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, yeah.
Call. I did the audition. Lo and behold, they cast me as Ping Wu, the Chinatown opium den proprietor, and that was my first role on television. Yeah, yeah. So that was it. It was just by chance, by act, like by luck, that I was there at the right time, at the right place, and I was ready to get back into television or try my hand at television and film.
Oh, wow, that's sweet. And one of the films you were in, like how was your experience like working on the Harvest?
Yeah, The Harvest. So, you know, um, not much had changed really, right? Like I never thought a little bit, for Asian Americans in the media, especially Hollywood, we had to take our stories into our own hands, right? And so I saw the shift of the culture. I saw the shift of the industry where Asian Americans were writing these stories. Asian Americans were producing these stories. And the writer for The Harvest was Dua Moa, who was the actor in Gran Torino by Clint Eastwood,
Oh
right? And that
yeah,
was the first film that put the Hmong community. So Dua is Hmong, Hmong ethnicity of the Asian ethnicities. They're like a minority. The Hmong are the only Asians, I think, that don't have a country, right? They're a tribe, a nomadic tribe, and they're in different like they're Hmong in China, they're Hmong in Laos and Cambodia and Thailand and Vietnamese. So they're bound by like tribal leaders and things like that. They don't have a country, a government. So it's a really interesting Asian culture. And so Dua, the Gran Torino was the first film that put Dua in Hollywood. Sorry, Hmong, the Hmong culture in Hollywood. Dua was an actor. He played a young gangster, the neighbor of some kid that was getting bullied and, um, threatened with extortion. Sort of, they had to pay like, extortion money or something.
yeah,
And Dua like had a big, that was a big jump in his career as an actor. And he thought, oh, it's gonna get good from here, right? But nothing happened for Dua either. So he realized I'm gonna have to write my own stuff in order to like make something good. So Dua wrote The Harvest based on his family. Patriarchal father from the old country and the new Hmong communities in America. So the father has a hard time adjusting to the new culture, can't accept his kids as Americans with new American ideals like individuality and things like that. So it's really a family drama with a lot of just heart. It's a really good, it's like Ang Lee, a good Ang Lee family drama. But it really addresses some very contemporary issues facing young Asian Americans today, or anybody that comes from an immigrant background that deals with the parents from the old culture, who expects them to behave accordingly, but they're in a new world, so they're wrestling with new opportunities, new ways of being, new identities, um, new sexuality. So it
yeah.
was a really challenging role for me as a older Asian American actor these days, and I could play father roles. So to play that kind of archetypal, stern, strict, unbendable, Asian father, um, was a challenge, right? To bring heart to him, to make the audience feel for him, because
Yeah,
he's really
exactly.
the antagonist, right? He's the antagonist, and how do we have a whole film where by the end the audience really feels for the antagonist also? So it was a great role for me. It was a challenging film, and I really respected Kaylee So, the director. She made a great, amazing Cambodian film that was, Cambodian American. That was up for the Cambodian government submitted for their Oscars. So it was a really great. I think it was a really great story. Yeah, great opportunity.
Oh, wow, that's so awesome. And you're, the big television show. warrior? How did you get to be part of that?
Wow, that's like a dream come true. That's a once in a lifetime dream that can happen to any like actor to get cast in their dream role, right? And for to put things in context, for an Asian American, Chinese American actor, that's really hard to find, right? A role that you can own because of its statement. And someone like Bruce Lee, who is iconic worldwide to what he does for the individual, right? Like
Yeah.
giving anybody who's into Bruce Lee understands that he gives them confidence, right? Just seeing a Bruce Lee movie makes you feel good, right? Makes you
Oh
feel
yeah.
good about yourself. So no matter who you are, and that's the amazing thing about Bruce is like he just connects everyone, and for him to be sort of like you know uh, our we feel like as Chinese Americans we own Bruce, right? He's a success, and like his success makes us succeed. And he's also from he was based in Oakland for much of his young life and teaching his kung fu studio out of Oakland, California. And that's where I was born, right kind of down the street from his studio.
Oh, get it.
uh in the, and his son was born not far from, in a hospital not far from where I was born. So we looked up to Bruce as like, wow, we can do that. We can get out of the Chinatown. We can make something of ourselves and be incredible like Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
So not that I actually thought I could do it, but it was an inspiration. It was a thought, right? It was a seed. And so to be able to actually be in Warrior, that was an idea that Bruce wrote over 50 years ago,
Mhm.
right? It took 50 years for his daughter Shannon Lee and Justin Lin to bring it to Hollywood and have it come to fruition. Um, it's just mind-boggling how lucky I feel like I am and fortunate to be like just at the right place at the right time. Um, yeah, I think the universe works in the most mysterious ways. And if I could devise someone like me could be cast in Warrior, I mean it's like anything can happen. Yeah.
And you mentioned like Bruce Lee and his son Brandon Lee. Like I love like all of Bruce Lee's films, but my favorite movie is the movie that Brandon Lee starred in, the the Crow.
Yeah,
The
the
Crow.
quote.
Oh my God, like that's like my favorite movie ever. And it's such a shame what happened to Brandon Lee like while filming that. Oh man, it's devastating.
You know what? When I moved to New York and I was at that moment trying to get into film, I auditioned for The Crow.
You
Not as
did?
Brenda's role, but as one of the thugs in the beginning of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
You remember, I auditioned for one of those roles, and I just remember going to the cattle call. There's a line outside. They take your Polaroid, say these lines. And you're like, oh my God, this is how it works. Um, but people get cast that way, right? People get cast in big movies that way. I didn't get cast in it, but I just remember auditioning for it, and I was that close. Like to be in a production with Brandon. You know.
Wow.
So it's just yeah, and then just to know what happened and to be sort of friends with Shannon Lee now, and hear her perspective on all of that, and the recent shooting, the killing, death that resulted in Rust, the movie with one of the who's that guy? God, um, it's that COVID brain fog thing again. I can't remember names. One of the famous actors who's charged for shooting the cameraman. It's a film called Rust, and it just
Oh,
happened last year. So again, there were live bullets on the set when there shouldn't have been live bullets on the set, and you're like, it's the gun wrangler, right? It's like, why are you having these inexperienced people,
I know.
live ammo on a set? It's just should never happen.
No, no,
And
it
how
shouldn't.
could right? Like, how could that happen? And if you're that actor, God, I don't know. Who's that actor that plays Trump on Saturday Night Live?
Oh, Alec Baldwin.
Baldwin, Alec Baldwin. So he's charged with manslaughter right now and why is he like clicking away the gun on set? Like just he said it was an accident, but it was
Mhm.
aimed right at the cinematographer, right in front of him with the camera, and he killed her. It's like you shouldn't be doing that. you know, you shouldn't be just clicking your gun, even if you think there's blanks in it.
Oh yeah, I know exactly.
You know, so yeah, so things like that, you know, it's just like whenever I'm on set, if there is a gun, and even in Warrior, I'm really super careful. I don't aim that gun at anyone. I have them show me the blanks. I have them sh
Yep.
demonstrate it to me right before we shoot. We double check it. I am not messing around, you know, because
Oh yeah.
you know, it could be dangerous. There's a lot of energy on a set. There's a lot of people trying to focus, but it's really busy. That gun wrangler, that prop master is super busy with 50 other props they're dealing with, you know, and 20 other actors with fake guns or whatever, you know. It's chaos on a set. But um, but that's no excuse to let live ammo onto a set.
No, no, that like you said with Alec Baldwin and what happened, Brandon Lee, like stuff like that shouldn't be happening on the movie set. Like you cut someone's life like Brandon Lee short when he could have been such a big star. Like it's just
Incredible star. He would be a superstar. He'd be an A-lister, right? So
oh yeah, I know.
I mean, here when he was on his way. It's just starring in a film, a couple of films. He's the lead, right? So
Hmm.
it's tragic. It's a unfortunately a preventable tragedy.
Oh yeah, definitely, I know. And for anyone who don't know about this show Warrior, which I don't see how they can know about it because it's an awesome show, but can you tell us a little bit about what the show is and about the character you play, Father John?
Yeah, so Warrior was written by Bruce Lee, and it's sort of a different version of Kung Fu. You remember the TV series Kung Fu with David
Yeah,
Carradine
definitely.
wandering the West and sort of begetting or sort of sharing some Asian philosophy, you know. So they the story is that that was an idea that Bruce had presented to Hollywood, but they said no, thank you. But like months later, it's on television with a white actor, right? So Bruce Lee wrote another treatment called Warrior to make, it's about it's pretty much about our story. 1870s Chinatown. It's the beginning of America, at least for Chinese America. Really tells the history of how capitalism, political demagoguery, all are involved in finding cheap labor and pitting, which results in pitting immigrants against each other. And that's essentially our show. Our show examines how America grew in Chinatown, but it's really done well in terms of the art direction. It's really beautiful. It's like watching a film, everything period, costumes, cinematography, everything is really rich, The writing is really beautiful and it really captures, I think, the times well, but also focuses on families, right? And friendship and brotherhood. So these are more like human stories, right? Outside the systemic stories of what's happening in America. And so that really is, I think, is a big draw for our audience to see a show that's sort of anybody who's interested in period pieces, who likes to watch old movies about old America. So, but it's also old America with a really young, fresh twist, like old America meets Peaky Blinders, you know. So it's got the twangy reverb tremolo guitar, it's like it's just really action packed. It's got these sexy people, and
Yeah.
it's like but and martial arts, oh my God, Bruce Lee inspired martial arts, and there's humor in this tragedy, right? In this very specific drama between, these different communities, right? There's a love interest, so it's almost like Romeo and Juliet, right? A love interest with a Chinese male lead and a white female lead,
Yeah.
so it's like kind of taboo in that world, that especially
Yeah.
at that time. And then you have father-son relationships and you have brother relationships, So it's a really, I think the show offers a lot for anybody to sort of sink their teeth into,
Oh,
really enjoy and binge, right? So there's built-in humor. It's not comedy, but there's a lot of like wry,
mhm.
subtle, dark humor. I think it's
Yeah.
it's a fun show. I love being in it. It's a super fun show.
It's so much fun. Like it is a great show. And Father, like your role, like you play like an in a tense, powerful role. And how do you get yourself in like a mind frame to play someone like him, like someone who's powerful and intense and
Yeah, you just I have to like first of all, for as an actor, you prepare.
Mhm,
Right. An actor prepares for the moment and or the stage. If you're a theater actor, you prepare for months, right, with your cast and you know the scene well and you're working with a director, you know all the beats well, the moments well, you know the arc of a scene. And so you prepare, you rehearse. On television and film, you don't have that time with the director. And a director might be shooting out of sequence, so they don't really understand exactly how they go. So they're going to ask you to try. Oh, that was a good take. Now try it. Like you're a little friendlier to this person and you want to help them, So you do another take and you kind of quickly absorb the director's direction and you try it. And he goes, that was a great take. Now let's do one more where you're a little skeptical and you don't trust him this time, right? So then you do everything you do with that in mind. I'm a little skeptical. I'm not as supportive anymore, right?
mhm,
So you have to keep doing things like that all the time. So you have to be prepared. Like when I'm rehearsing my scene, I go, okay, the director might want it this way. They might want it faster. They might want it slower. So those are technical things that I have to sort of be prepared to perform as an actor, as a technical actor, I have to give what the role requires. Now, mentally, as a person, like I have to really understand the situation from my heart.
mhm.
What is happening in the scene? How does the character feel about all of that in the scene? Like for example, I'm just gonna say father and son with young June sometimes. How does the father feel about his son that's not listening to him? And I'm not just talking about any father. I'm talking about the Father June at that time in 1870s, who came from a very patriarchal Chinese Confucianist culture where anything the father says goes, right? Everybody
Yeah.
has to kowtow to the father. So if I'm having a son that gives me some lip, I'm going to smack him, right? So it's like, I have to put myself there, right? And like you do all that other preparation and to kind of remove yourself, Perry Young in 2020, like how would Father June do that as an immigrant coming to this country? So there's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of imagination, and you have to really work on those things every day. You have to kind of like go to sleep thinking about it. You dream about it. You wake up going, "Oh, I got the answer to it," Um, and it's all process. You process all of that, like as soon as you have the script. And hopefully on the day of, when you show up and the director says action, whatever comes out of your mouth is going to be a product of all that preparation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, not always. That doesn't always happen.
And you basically you played the head of the group, the hop the
The hop
hop
way,
yeah,
hop
and
way,
hop away. Okay.
hop way.
Hop away. And do you like being the head, being the person in the charge, like do you feel that he's feared as the head, or do you think that, like you said, like the person who plays your son, like he really doesn't listen to him, but that's his son that's not listening to him, but everyone else kind of fears him.
Yeah, it's I just have to base what I do on the writing, right, on the script.
Hmm.
This is what the script says, right? And then they'll have little indications on like the character responds this way to tell you this is how the scene goes, right? It doesn't always go that way, like what, like the director might go, oh, ignore the stage direction. You're not afraid at all, or you're questioning, you're not demanding, right? Like it might say, Father June demands this, right? After he says the line, because well, try it where you actually ask him, you know, firmly. And actually that's stronger than demanding, right?
You're right.
So there's a lot of ways to play things, and you can't we don't know how it's gonna turn out in the edit. We just have to be um convince ourselves that we're doing the right thing when we're delivering, right? I have to be um did I deliver what's required? Did I listen to the director? Um and just, being in the moment and real with the scene. I think, as an actor, once you're cast in the part, you can believe that 90% of the work is done. That that the people on the behind the camera, the sh producers, the showrunners, the director, when they cast you, they believe you. They believe
Yeah,
you're the person that's going to do the part. They don't have to convince you to do anything. You just have to kind of show up, especially with I don't know, there was an interview with Jack Nicholson once when he goes, once I put that costume on and the makeup, I just have to say the lines. I don't have to do anything. Everything else does it, right? So somehow that's part of warrior too. I feel like once that I'm sitting in my throne, the lights on me, I got my suit, I just have to say the words, right?
true,
Yeah, I
true.
almost don't have to do any acting at all. I just have to say the words.
And like on the show, like he feels his son isn't ready to be the head. And how do you feel like about the father son relationship on Warrior?
I really love it, because it's extremely rare. And I think that we might be the first television show in Hollywood that portrays a Chinese American father and son. I don't, I could only think of one other TV show, like a series that has that, and that would have been Fresh Off the Boat by Eddie
Oh
Huang.
yeah.
It was a comedy, right?
Hmm.
So this is not a comedy. It's kind of real, right? It's drama. So for us to have that was a lot of I think it was a privilege. It was an amazing privilege I spoke with Jason Tobin, the actor, who's incredibly, wonderful actor, generous, listens very carefully, really giving in his scene. And we just make magic, I feel, because you just have to listen to each other. And we're both on the same page. So we understand that this is a rare moment in Hollywood. Like we haven't seen this before, right?
Oh yeah.
So I haven't seen it before, at least, and we want to make sure that we do it justice, and we want to really make this relationship really interesting and unlike anything probably anyone expected of a father and son, but at the same time, everything that everyone expects of a father and son, like it's universal, it's also really new as Chinese Americans
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
screen,
definitely.
on screen.
And you mentioned like how your character wears the suits. Like I love I love how the clothes look, the suits. Like who makes like all the suits on the set?
Oh my God, I'm having a brain fart again. I'm going to say I'm going to say it's a co brain, from COVID, or a senior moment. But yeah, the costume designers are incredibly talented. Incredibly talented. All the suits I wear, I've never worn suits that beautiful, that
Oh wow.
form-fitting, that powerful, that suggestive, right? They know their job. They read the scene and they go, oh, in that scene, Father June's wearing a black suit. You know what I mean? They know. They know. Oh, in that scene, Father June's got his overcoat on, he's going out. It's a nice brisk day. He's a happy guy. He's going for a walk. It's sort of this tweed coat he's wearing. It's like, he feels good, right? It's not about power. So those guys, they really know their job. They really know how the costume fits the scene, suggests the scene, supports the scene, um, supports the actor. Like I said, in some scenes, I just stand there with that coat on, and that's all I have to do, right? Because that coat says so much. And
Yeah.
when they had closed season two, thinking that we weren't going to get a season three, they asked us if we wanted anything from the show because it's all going to be torn down and sold. I went, I
Oh,
want one of Father June's suits.
oh yeah.
Any of them. Any of them. I'll take any of Father June's suits. Never came, but because we actually, we went in to shoot season three after that. They renewed it. But it turns out they had sold the costumes to a costume company in Spain,
Oh my god.
because they made all our costumes from scratch. They were all made from scratch. So they made some money selling them to a costume wardrobe, company in Spain. And then they rented them back for season three. They had to rent the costumes from them, which was pretty hilarious.
So these are the costumes that they made from scratch, and now they have to actually rent them.
They rented them back. And you know what was funny was I saw my name sewed into the jacket, even when they came back from my name was still on the jacket.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. Somebody in Spain in some period piece was wearing it, going, "Who's this guy, Perry Young?" Uh,
Is there any scene that you had the most fun shooting, the most fun doing?
oh my God, they're all every scene I
Oh,
make is so fun. But I have to say, I don't know if you've seen season three, episode six yet. That's uh that's a scene where I don't know if we do sport you do spoilers here or not, but every
yeah, I mean,
episode,
if they watched it, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Every episode has a standalone episode where two people go out of town, sort of that kind of thing. And so
Mhm.
in season three, I was in that standalone episode where we went to a mining town to sort of try to trade gold for counterfeit money. And I got to like do some fight scenes and choreographies and have a shotgun, so to run through the old town like a Western. Got to play Clint Eastwood. Never thought I would do that in a movie, right? Just come in and blow the town away with your shotgun. So that was really fun, although I don't condone, gun violence at all. I'm totally against it, but for the movie, that was fun.
Nice, nice. And I also see that you make your own flutes. You make Zen flutes. Like how did that all come about?
Right, the shakuhachi. Shakuhachi is a Japanese Zen flute. It comes from the temples of Japan with the Komuso monks, Buddhist monks. They
Oh,
meditate with it, right? It's a flute that was never used in an orchestra to play for listening, for concert music. Nobody listened to it for pleasure. It was a meditation tool for monks to
oh,
breathe and feel the vibration. And there are old monk pieces written. They're kind of like chants, and they're named like wind and waterfall and morning, those things, so it's the name of nature because these monks meditated in a temple in nature. um over the last 50 years, that sound was discovered by Hollywood, so you could hear that flute ephemeral sound sometimes, you know um uh yeah, so it's but it's not melodic. It's just this vibration and a wind, like,
mhm.
and that's a shakuhachi. So I discovered it in a play in New York City, and it totally changed my life. This was pre-internet, so I asked the musician in the play, I was like, "What is that? What is that sound that you're playing?" And he just holds up this flute and he goes, "Oh, you mean the shakuhachi?" And just by the look on his face, I meant, "Oh yeah, this is a real instrument. This is it, right?" And he goes, "Well, you can't just buy one. You have to go to Japan, go to the house of a maker, with someone you trust, and play every one of his flutes until the one fits you,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
one is handmade and it has to fit each person.
yeah,
They're not
exactly.
band instruments. They don't come off an assembly line, right? So I ended up going to Japan to study with a maker and a player, and for many years, and then I had two children born at that time, and it just kind of had to do a life shift to where suddenly the shakuhachi became was able to provide for the family, and the internet came around, and I started
Mhm.
selling my flutes on the internet, and I was sort of the first one in. So that kind of, another thing. It was one of those perfect place at the perfect timing. Again, I was at the right place at the right time with the flutes and the internet. And then was able to be a stay-at-home dad, make flutes, repair flutes worldwide. And I just fell in love with it. It changed my life. It's this deep meditation with the flute. And everyone that comes to it says that, yeah, it changes their lives.
Wow. That I definitely have to get one of them.
I highly recommend it. It'll change your life.
Yeah, wow, that sounds amazing. And you also traveled too and played the flutes at like at colleges and temples and workshops, right?
Right. So in that time when I just totally dove into the flute making world, and the internet sort of blew up, people found me because my website was in English. Otherwise, all the other shakuhachi flute makers were in Japan, and their websites were in Japanese, right? So
Okay.
internationally, I sort of developed a reputation because of the English language online, and all these academia found me because they were interested, music departments were interested in what that flute was, and they would hire me to come and do lecture demonstrations and workshops. So I would teach a group on how to make a very simple shakuhachi within 2 hours, and then learn to play the first Zen piece. And these would be like all-day workshops at Zen monasteries from the of New York City to San Francisco and colleges across the US. Did that for a couple of years until it was just like I don't want to travel anymore, and it was just a lot of work.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then the acting came back, television. I found television again.
Oh, wow. Okay, okay. Did you ever play your flute, your music on any of the shows you were on?
Well, yeah, yeah. So all the flute you hear in Warrior is me.
Oh,
I'm
really?
I'm playing the flute because the first season as we're filming, I think it was the first month into filming in South Africa, one of the producers, Danielle Woodrow, came up to me and said, "What is this about the flute that you also do?" Because I guess she was following my Instagram. And I
Uh-huh.
went, "Oh, the shakuhachi, that's just this whole other world. I just it's I have a business, I teach Zen meditation, nothing to do with television." And she goes, "Send me something." And I went, "Oh, what does she mean? She wants to use the shakuhachi in the soundtrack?" So I did a little recording. I had GarageBand, I put a hip hop drum beat and I played a Zen melody on top. And I like to do stuff like be creative. And it sounded pretty cool. So I sent that to her. And she goes, "Oh, wow, I've never heard anything like this before. That's amazing. And 2 weeks later, I saw that they had written into the script that Father June plays the flute during the moment when the two gangs are about to go to war. Father
Yes.
June is summing up the
Yeah.
spirits, right? And it was just amazing. It was just amazing that she wrote it in there. I never thought that the two worlds would come together. And then as I was playing on the set for that episode, the um, the producer said, "Well, that sounds really great. Can you do some wild lines? Meaning just play and improvise, and they'll record it." And so I did that for about 20 minutes, and then they asked if they could use it throughout the season, and it became a sound throughout Warrior, the flute, especially Father June when he has some emotional moments, and when he leaves a scene, you could hear this flute, and that's Father
Mhm.
June's melody.
Oh,
Jonathan Sharper talks about it in an episode with the composers, and Jonathan says it's the first time he's ever worked with an actor who actually was a musician who plays on the soundtrack under himself, you know. And in season three, it's particularly moving because I play for my own funeral, the flute,
yeah.
which is pretty bizarre. It's like, I don't, yeah. So that's kind of a pretty unique experience for
Right,
me.
exactly.
But it ended up that I also play on other films I've been in because of that. Like, did a short film with Father's Son. That director asked me to play the shakuhachi in it, so that some of that flute ended up in there. And since then, I've recorded for other films and television. Yeah. I got a
Wow.
CD coming up. I'm working on a CD.
Oh, that's
Finally.
awesome.
A lot of people have been asking me for the last 30 years, when are you going to record a flute CD? I just haven't gotten to it until now.
Okay, cool, cool. And like when someone wants to go into like their own zen to met meditate, like how do you shut your mind off to the world? Like how do you stop like having like the racing thoughts and just sit there and make your body at ease?
That's a good question. Have you tried meditating?
I have, and I can't, like I just keep like I'm always like thinking of something.
Yeah, yes, that's what, if you start to study with a meditation class or a person, that's one of the first things they address is how do you turn off your mind? It's not
Okay.
easy, right? It's a
No, it's not.
practice.
It's
It's a
not.
practice. So it's like anything, like if I did a Shambhala meditation retreat where they have a technique, right, where you have to count numbers and stay with the number at first,
Mhm.
just to get you in that zone. So the most simple way is like, how far can you get if you just think inhale one, and exhale. Inhale two, right? Because you're counting and you're thinking the exhaling.
Yeah,
Most
exactly.
people don't get to three because your mind is already thinking about what you had for lunch or what you're gonna have for lunch or who's this person sitting next to me or did I wear the right thing or like, what did I eat this morning? I mean, most people don't get to three. So if you're doing this workshop, if you get to 10 by the end of the workshop, it's an amazing thing to stay
Okay.
focused on your breath, counting inhale, one, exhale. And then like people go, why can't I get past three? What do I need to do? And then the teacher will break it down even more. They'll say, okay, now I'm inhaling. Now the air is coming into my nostril. One. And now I'm exhaling. And now the air is leaving my nostril. And now my lung is deflating. Two. Like stay with that, right? So if you can stay with that, you get to like five, six, seven, eight. Eventually, you don't have to count anymore. You're just in the zone right away. You drop into it. But it tells you how busy we are as human beings when we can't even turn off our minds,
Oh, I know exactly.
And the moment you turn off your mind, you realize that you kind of hear this tone, you feel this vibration, and it's kind of like for me, I call it finding home. I
Mhm.
found my home right now. It's really quite amazing. It's really quite a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely gonna try doing a class thing because when I try doing it on my own, it never works.
Guided meditation, right? And you need a good teacher, because they're bad
Mhm.
teachers. You need a good teacher and just somebody who you trust, you feel good about, you feel benefits about, intuitively you feel good about. And it doesn't cost any money, these people. You can find a good person that doesn't cost money that can guide you there.
Okay, thank you.
You can find bad people that will charge you a lot of money too, so.
Sure. And what kind of music do you like listening to? Like, do you listen to all types of music?
I did. Music saved my life. I was a young musician. I was a young kid when my family bought the quintessential Chinese restaurant in the middle of nowhere in Texarkana, Texas. I was experiencing extreme culture shock moving from Oakland, an incredibly diverse urban environment with a lot of multicultural people of color friends, into a town that was black and white essentially. And I
Mhm.
didn't fit in, right? And I didn't understand the culture. But punk rock came about at that time, and it just soothed. Punk rock was something that spoke to me, right? Because of all something about the vibrations and the noise and the ethos of punk, right? Like it's tearing down the system. So I got into punk and then new wave shortly after, and I started playing music. So I was listening to everything. I loved music. It was mostly pop music at the time. And then by the time I played in bands, and then by the time I got to college, I started to took a music appreciation class, and we looked at Western, orchestral music, symphonic music, concert music, and I started to really love Beethoven and Mozart. I was like, oh my God, that's a whole other level of music. Um, and then when I moved to New York City and I started to do my theater group, Slant, that was really about Asian American identity, culture. And we started to play music, as a band, as a theater company also. And we started to explore what the possibilities are culturally if we used ethnic instruments and made it American, so that what got me into the shakuhachi also was like, I want to use the bamboo flute with an electric guitar. What would that
Nice.
sound like, right? I want to use the bamboo flute with an electric bass. What would that sound like? And so we really discovered some cool stuff. And so we're still doing that today. Like 30 years later, we're still mining those kind of explorations.
Okay.
But in exploring the shakuhachi, I started to understand silence. And silence was a big thing. John Cage, the contemporary composer, talked about was that music can be more than organized notes, right? In time, music can be what you hear out there that could be, organized in your brain and make you think and feel differently. And so that kind of John Cage was also had aligned himself to a shakuhachi player, a pretty wild Zen monk called named Watazumi. So I actually went to study with one of his students, and it was quite an incredible experience, and it shaped a lot of my music thinking and listening. And so after that experience, it's much harder for me to listen to anything that's pop these days, that's
Yeah, yeah.
manufactured music. especially if it's not from a band, but it's like orchestrated to commercially to sell in a capitalist marketplace. Um, I can listen to recorded music from an individual, like wrote a song and recorded it, but nothing that's, manufactured. But I love live music more than anything else. Any live music, as long as it's some person, whether it's just singing with any kind of instrument, the act of playing a live instrument in front of you is an incredible sharing that, is so much more than listening. It's about like this musician giving, right? Giving something, and like if you're receptive to that, it can really shift your thinking, your mood, and yeah, calm the nervous system, you know, change your perspective in the world if you could be in front of a live musician.
Okay, wow. And I always ask my guests this because I'm a big horror movie fan. Are there any horror films that you like to watch?
I love horror movies. I love horror movies. That's
Oh,
one of my
nice.
first loves. One of the first horror movies I ever saw that really shaped me and probably scared the F out of me was Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
great.
saw it on television as a 5-year-old kid, right? Like, and it just scared the shit out of me. And I went, and then once I saw it alone, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing watching this alone? Like, um, that it just shaped my whole like world of like possibilities of like acting, storytelling, imagination, fantasy, how it could really uh, influence your emotions, your state of mind. I think it was such a powerful thing, like so I really love horror movies, like and then some early Jap in San Francisco and Oakland in the 70s, there was a show called Creature Features.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I used to watch it, my brothers and I, every Friday night, right? Features, and it would be like Vincent Price in the House of Wax, and all the Godzilla movies, the werewolf, Dracula movies. Oh my God, the Dracula movies, Bela Lugosi, and
Yeah, yeah,
it was just so incredible, right? The presence of Bela Lugosi and his sort of like with Reinfeld, like his sort of hypnotist skills, I mean, it was so captivating. It really was the thing that I think ingrained in me of like the uh the world, the world of cinema is really powerful in horror.
oh my God, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then everything else, I used to watch on television after theaters after that was The Thing, I saw the original, and then went to see the John Carpenter's Thing, and
Mhm.
Nightmare on Elm Street, all those movies I was a big fan of. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I love
It
it.
was it was actually a quite a joy to be cast in this movie called The Condemned.
Oh,
Uh
okay.
yeah, yeah. So that was one of the first films that I came back into in 2015, I think. Eli Morgan, yes, sir. Oh my God, I'm having a brain again, it's my brain fog, right? Condemned was about a abandoned building in San Francisco where a bunch of people who go in there who live squat there become
Mhm.
locked in, and this one guy who's mixing like drugs um develops creates a monster in the basement through all
Oh,
the waste of the drugs that goes toxic
like,
waste of the drugs. So the monster comes out of the basement and sort of like kills all the inhabitants one by one. And all the denizens in the building are like these, like drug, like one guy is like just like this drug couple, another's a BDMS couple, be SM, yeah, like bestiality. It's just bizarre. It's just an incredible fun. It stars Sean Penn's daughter, Dylan Penn, on her first film. So
okay.
yeah, super fun film, and it was just like a dream come true to be in a horror movie. Now I was
Oh
the
my
guy that hooking up the drugs that was, causing the waste. Uh, Fun stuff. The Condemned.
Oh wow, I love it. I definitely have to watch that one.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at. It might be on Netflix, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, everything's either on ad or Amazon or
Yeah, yeah.
and the last thing I will ask you is where can fans follow you at?
Yeah, okay. So before that, I wanted like to give a quick plug to Warrior because
Yeah.
today, February 16th, Warrior drops on Netflix. It's huge, all 3 seasons. for those fans who want a season four, you got to watch from season one to the end and give it a thumbs up at the end. And to super watch, you just watch all three, right? And binge all three right away. And those
Definitely.
numbers will get us a season four on Netflix. So, and if you care about it, spread the word. Binge Warrior on Netflix right now, all the way through. Make sure you watch the full season. Thumbs up at the end. For people who want to follow me, I have an IG, Instagram, Perry Young official. That's the best place to see what I'm up to. And if you happen to be in Eugene, Oregon on March 10th, my short film Stop Asian Hate, Love One Another is making a debut
Oh,
um,
sweet.
at the Disorient Festival in Eugene, Oregon. So if you're there, Portland, Oregon, or Eugene, come and visit me. Come and say hello.
Awesome. Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking time and doing this. I know you're busy today with a whole bunch of different press and interviews, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Guru, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your support and interest in what I do.
Definitely, definitely, buddy. Have a really great day.
You
Thank
too,
you.
brother. You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.